Okay, this problem is kind of tricky, so I just wanted to make a video on that. But again, in math, if you're having a hard time, sometimes visualizing it with a picture helps. So basically, the person walks half the classroom, and then, so that's half, and then they walk half of what's left. Then they walk half of what's left, and then they walk half of what's left. And so the problem's asking, like, how far do they get? Okay, now if there weren't fractions, say they walked 100 miles, then they'd walk 50 miles, then 25, and then half of that is 12.5. And you're totaling, you're adding all up. So you know this is addition. But there's also some multiplication tied in here too, because this is half. But the next one is half of a half, which is actually a fourth. And then you're taking half of the 1/4 to get 1/8. And then you're taking half of the 1/8 to get 1/16. So there's multiplication in the fact that you're taking half of the previous total each time, but then there's also addition because you're adding up these distances to get how far he's traveled. And again, remember when you add, you need a common unit. So in fractions, that would be a common denominator. So we need to get everything in terms of 16ths. So times 8 times 8. And then times 4 times 4, and times 2 and 2, and then this one doesn't change. And again, what I'm doing when I get that, for example, like right here, I'm cutting it in half, so it's the same distance as this. So now I have three things that are the same, and so that's why I get 2 there. Or right here, I'm cutting it into 4s, again, to get a consistent unit or a consistent distance, and so that's why I get 4 of them. And the same thing here, I'm cutting it into 8s so that I get a consistent unit. So you can see my 8. And then my new unit is 16ths. So if I add that all up, I get, what is that? 15/16 is how the fraction of the room that he has crossed or she has crossed. And then as far as if they'll ever reach the opposite wall, well, you know, you can take half of a half of a half of a half of a half forever. So the answer would be no, which might bug some of you, but the reality is you can always keep taking half. So I could take and add, if I wanted to, like I could take half of my 1/16, and I would get 1/32, and then I could get 1/64 and 1/128. And again, that will never add up to 1. In calculus, we call that a limit, and then we say, well, the limit is 1 because it gets really close to 1, but the reality is they'll never equal 1.